what's up, everybody? Real Estate Coffee Talk, episode 4. We have an awesome guest today. I'm really pumped. Dysha Woodruff with Century 21 Premier Properties in Pepper Pike. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. Well, Dysha, I want to truly thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule right now to really give some insight so we can kind of pick your brain and learn a little bit more about you and maybe give the general public just a little bit of a different insight on you, that they don't see every day.
Okay.
All right.
Let's have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have some fun, and I think this will be good too, because we've had 2 weeks ago we had William Ali on, and you are also a top producer yourself, so I think it'll be a nice conversation point for some people to get another perspective from the agent side of things from another top producer in the industry. So yeah. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we're trying to just kind of get every side of the business in on the podcast, whether it be different types of agents who work with different types of clients, or different types of companies in the industry, like title companies. We had Wen on last week as a surveyor, so super excited for this one. It's gonna be a good episode.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Now, everybody, just fair warning, she's jet lagged. Okay, she's super busy person. She just got out. She actually just got off the flight this morning, and midnight or something like that, or
2 a.m.
2 a.m. and then she's over here by 11.
Wait, were you coming from the West Coast?
No, from Florida.
Okay.
Why
was the flight?
The storms
okay,
delayed,
so you were delayed.
all
Okay.
of the flights. Yeah.
I was gonna say, that
and
makes
I told
sense.
Dustin, I was like, Dustin, listen, I might need to come spend a night when I get off the flight since I'm halfway here.
Right.
We got your back. Come on. We got an extra seat. We got an extra bed, extra room. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know. I won't spend too much time on this, but Evan and I did a red-eye flight one time.
Oh.
Never recommend it. The worst thing in the world. It's a lot cheaper, but it sucks so bad.
I think our flight left at 11 p.m.
Yeah,
we got home
11:30. We got home at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah,
I don't like red.
On the 4th of
red
July
eyes.
too, so I think instead of enjoying the day, I think I slept the whole day.
It was awful.
Yeah, not a fun thing, but nonetheless, we're glad you were able to make it. And this
Thanks
is gonna
for
be more.
having me, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, everybody that's listening, we're going to really be picking her brain. We're going to figure out why she does what she does. What is her why? We're going to figure out, what her niche is. And, any agents that are watching this, pay attention, because you're going to learn something. And if you're a first-time home buyer, or, you're coming into the, or you're a repeat, pay attention, because you're going to learn something. Things constantly change, and we're adapting. And this is why we align ourselves with awesome agents that, are strategic and, help present the most competitive offers going forward, and, pushing forward with owning real estate. So we're also going to figure out, we're going to shed some light on just being a woman in the industry, and there's been some crazy things that happened in the past couple of years. We're going to shed some light on that. And, we're going to figure out, what advice you would give, So if everybody's going to take one thing out of this, it's, what does it take to really survive in this market and stand out and being a top producer, right? So, all right. So, let's kind of hop in there. How did you even get in this industry? I remember when you came in, it was like 4 years ago. We started working together, and, clicked immediately, and, we never looked back.
Well, before you do that, I don't want to cut you off. Why don't you just tell everybody who you are, what company you work for, and how long you've been in the industry?
Okay, so I'm Dysha Woodruff. I am with Century 21 Premier Properties in Pepper Pike, Ohio, and I've been licensed since 2018, so this is going on my 4th year. And I met Dustin through an open house that we held for Harvey while he was in Paris, and I was like newly licensed, and we did like all of these first take videos, so we've been like inseparable ever since. So
I did not know that.
I
was an open house.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's awesome. I had no clue.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I
awesome.
busted out the it was really weird, because it was actually Stas that introduced us, and he was like he really wanted to work with Harvey, right? And he was like, Dustin, Dysha needs help. I can't do it. Go over there, get some Subway. Go help with the open house. I'm like, Subway, carrying the water, met you for the first time. I'm like, hey, I brought my iPad. I don't really know how to use this thing, but let's try it out. I'm sitting there just walking around like a madman. I'm like, does this make sense? I'm like just sitting there just holding it like a camera. And it was just, we did so many takes, and then I think you posted it to Facebook, and then we got it in the memories, right?
Yeah, because I started to post it the other day. I was like, look where we started.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story of how
It's really it's
Come a
really,
long
really
way
cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, we both came a long way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Dustin's a natural.
yeah.
Well, so are you. So, but enough about me. Why don't you tell us how you got in the industry?
Okay, so when I was 24, I purchased my first home and I was taken advantage of. So I took real estate classes then, and I really didn't want to do anything in real estate. So I said, I'll just see what happens. And then I lost my job. I was at university hospitals for almost 10 years.
What'd you do?
I worked in the gastroenterology department. I worked with a bunch of great physicians, but my position just wasn't needed anymore. So, I had took my classes 3 years prior to that. So then I just and just signed with a broker and went to take my test without studying. And I missed it by 1 point. And then I went back again, and I missed it by like 6 points. So I was like, forget this, I'm not doing it. And then I got engaged, and my fiance was a builder. And he was like, you know what, you really should get your real estate license. And I was like, I took the test twice already. He's like, so I let the classes expire, and I took him over, and he passed away. And I promised that I would get my real estate license, and I did. And I've been on fire ever since. So that's how I'm here today.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, there's no shame in taking the test multiple times. I'm in the same boat as you. So
A lot of people give up too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you don't give up, you're going to be good in the industry if you take the test so many times. Just to make sure you pass it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had this conversation with Sam. I mean, some of the top producers that I've ever met. I mean, it's taken them multiple times. I mean, just because you're not maybe the best test taker, that doesn't determine how you're going to be production wise as far as being an agent. So I mean, and I'm sure the test really doesn't teach you anything about being an agent.
Just disclosure.
Exactly. So I mean it's glad to see that you didn't let those things kind of stop you from getting there, because you're killing it now. So
And you know what? I feel like I didn't deserve to pass before. I know that sounds bad, but I didn't even study, and I took the test 3 years later. But the second go around after I took the class, I just went in and I passed it. I scored the same exact thing. I was like, is this right? So on both.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too. Anybody that's watching this, you're seeing living proof that the test doesn't determine your success, right? Only you determine your success, and everybody has their geniuses, and sometimes taking a test is not a genius, and your genius is just your charisma and your connecting with people and your ethical views on everything. So yeah, that was a hurdle, but you got over it, and look where you're at right now. So anybody that's watching, don't let that test discourage you. And the mortgage planning side, don't let it discourage you either, because it does not define your success.
And can I piggyback off of you? So one thing about real estate is that if you give up off of after taking a test one time, you definitely don't need to be a realtor, because you have to be relentless. You have to keep going. Because you're basically self-employed. So you are self-employed. So you just can't stop. You have to keep going. And the test is easy compared to life as a real estate agent.
absolutely. I mean,
it
stuff
is
goes wrong
crazy.
all the time.
Nonstop. You have to be a problem solver.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you give up after a test, I mean, some of the problems that I'm sure we've all faced as agents, I mean, they're big. You're buying a house. I mean, a lot of times that's the biggest investment people have ever made.
Emotional,
Right.
And emotional as well. I mean, but you have to be able to solve those problems. If you can't get past not passing a test, I mean, I don't know how you're going to.
How are you going to fight for your
Yeah.
client at that
Right.
point?
Right.
Everything in real estate is a test.
Yeah.
Daily, all day long. So
I never thought of it that way, and that's actually really.
It's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in
thought
this
about
market too. I mean, we're striking out. We could put 10 offers and we're striking out. So if you're gonna give up after failing the test once,
right.
forget it. Absolutely forget it.
I think you used this word earlier. I mean, you got to be relentless.
Yeah.
Relentless.
So-
And that's one of our Century 21
Saying.
models. Yeah, it's we're relentless agents, so you have to be relentless.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's another thing that you have to be right now in this market is a Pop-Tart agent. And the Pop-Tart agent is
What
the
is
agent.
that? Hold on.
I think I know where this. Is going, but I've never heard it. I've
This
never
right
heard
here,
this.
this is going to be a clip right here. It's going to be a mini clip. Pop-Tart agent. What does it mean to be a Pop-Tart agent? Go ahead.
Okay, so a Pop-Tart agent is an agent that pops up every time their client wants them to. So if you get a call today at 1 o'clock and they want to see a property today at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, you almost have to go. You can't say, oh, I'm going to schedule you tomorrow or the next day, because guess what? The property's going to be gone in 1 or 2 days. So you have to get out there. So it's really hard, like pinpointing a time and having a like set schedule,
Yeah.
because that just really doesn't exist right now. And if
Yeah.
it does, you're not selling a lot of properties, because your offer's going to be kicked all the way to the back. You're probably not going to even get a chance to put the offer in.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought that up. So when we had William on, the other agent, on episode 2, we talked about this when we were talking about, like, a lot of people get into the industry because they think, oh, like, this is awesome, I can set my own schedule, and then sometimes they won't sacrifice things. They'll be like you mentioned, a client calls you like, hey, I want to go see this property at 2. You can't say like, oh, well, I'm going out to lunch with my friends.
You can. You're just that's not gonna be
you
your client
can,
anymore.
right? But that person
Exactly. You do whatever you want. It's a choice.
right, you can, but that's when that client finds somebody else to be their agent. Like if you want to
Snap
do this,
of a
like you have to make sacrifices. You're gonna have to cancel stuff. You're gonna have to maybe go show a house when maybe there's something else you'd be rather doing. Like you said, you're a Poptart agent. You have to pop up when the client wants you to, almost.
Right.
So I actually, I really like that. I really like that term for it. I never thought of it that way.
We can thank Seth for that.
Yeah,
'Cause
Seth, thank you.
Came up with that.
Seth, can you make a name for us? So the mortgage planner, and the mortgage planning side too, and agents, you're hearing it right now. It's discipline, right? It's making sure that you're giving 100% of your effort. You're sacrificing right now, and this is how you succeed. And we're guilty. The mortgage planner, we're guilty of it too. Like, I have to be there, so make sure, like, if you're looking for a house, make sure that your mortgage planner has a solidified relationship with your agent and that they are both on the same page. They have both looked at your finances. They need to know how to be the most competitive going forward, and agents, if your mortgage planner is not throwing you in the loop with the client's finances, I think you better reevaluate that. So it's right now it's more important than ever to make sure we're staying on top of it. Yeah. So that leads me into like the why then. Okay. So why are you a Poptart agent then? What is your why?
I mean, oh gosh. So I'm not a Pop-Tart agent by choice, but
you have to.
if not, it's because right, Sam, I
Is
have
that
to.
not a good thing? I don't mean to offend.
Yeah,
is
no.
Poptart agent,
So
is it bad or good? Or
it's not the best thing, but
Okay.
it's what's required right now for this market.
Got it. So adaptability. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So like I want to see people, like I get enjoyment out of handing over keys. Like it's
the
such it's a responsibility. So I tell everyone like, hey, it's a responsibility. No, this is no pressure. Like I'm like the most low pressure agent you're going to get. But
You're always
I will
smiling.
apply pressure.
Yes,
if
you
you
will.
want the property. So it's gonna happen. So, but I like to see people get into homes, and people sometimes purchase a home and decide this is not for me. I don't want the responsibility, but I just make sure I tell everyone like, it's a responsibility, and I give them a mini consultation and we just go from there. So I like handing over keys too, and I work with a lot of friends and family too. So like, I don't have like any outsourced like lead system or anything like that, but we're going to get into that because we may start doing that. But I do work with a lot of my friends and family. So, and a lot of my friends and family, they don't own homes. So like my goal is to get everyone a house.
Do you think that maybe part of it, because like I want to touch base on what you said earlier, was when you were in your your mid 20s, you had a really bad experience. You felt you were taken advantage of by that agent. Do you think that any of that played as to a why, or obviously your late fiance passing away? Do you think that was a part of it, or do you think that was just something that was always in you, was to help people get family or help families get into homes?
Okay, so when I was taken advantage of, I felt horrible. I met with like, I don't know, maybe 8 realtors, and no one could help me because I was a victim of that predatory lending, and like the house was so inflated. It was just horrible. And I said to myself, I was like, I never want to feel like this again, and I don't want any of my friends and family or anyone to have to go through this. So that is why I fight so hard for my clients, and I do wear my heart on my sleeve because I care. And That's why. And yeah, and for my fiance, yeah, I did promise him I was going to get my real estate license. So I'm sure he would be so happy today if he could see me like working right
Sorry,
now.
he sees you every day. Stop that. We have that conversation before he's looking at you right now. Don't
No,
say
I
when
know.
you see it. You
I
he's
know.
there.
I know. So
So it sounds like it was kind of a mix of everything. Like it was kind of in you forever, but
Yeah.
the things that happen definitely put a play into it for sure.
yeah. And I'm in a good place with it too. So it doesn't like bother me to talk about it or anything like that because like I learned a lot from him also, like a lot. So when I go into a property, like everyone's looking at like the cosmetic stuff, I'm not looking at anything
You want to give,
cosmetic.
and I don't mean cut you. You want to give everybody a background just about him and how well and how versed and how good he was, and this is like what he transpired to over to you. Do you want to give everybody a quick background about him?
Okay, so he had 24 companies and different flooring companies, construction companies, landscaping companies, electrical, plumbing, heating, and cooling. So all of those special trades, he basically like just subcontracted out. But he had a lot of relationships with people in the community, and some of them went great, and some of them didn't go so great. But he was a problem solver, and one thing he always said was don't focus on the problem, focus on solving it, and also focus on making more money. So
you can be happy.
So you can be happy and
spend
comfortable.
time with your loved ones and help people, right?
Yeah, because I used to always search for like the best deal, and which I still do. But he's like, Dysha, stop searching for the best deal. Just figure out how to make more money. But when you figure out how to make more money, it also brings the success and the experience. So,
love it.
yeah.
Absolutely love it. That's probably like one of the best parts of this podcast or anything that we've had on here so far. We haven't had a ton of episodes, but like really let that sink in. Like let that sink in. That's determination, that's success, that's grit. And that's pushing through adversity, everybody. Like, she lost everything. She lost her loved one, everything. And look where she's at right now. So there is no excuse.
And
period.
The crazy thing is that we built our house. Like, we were the builders. So, like, we're going to the meetings. We're dealing with the excavators. We're dealing with, everything. Like, we did it. So that really helps me understand how houses are made. So, like, I already know how an inspection is going to go before we go through it, So sometimes when I know it's super bad, I can't really just come out and say, we're not going with this house. But I'm like, hey, well, let's look at another house. Let's put a few more on the list just because I don't want someone to have to go through some of the things I went through. I went through almost everything that you can imagine in a house,
And your hands are tied sometimes too, The inventory is so limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's nice that you have that experience because if you know something is going to be an issue, you kind of have that experience where you're like, hey, like I noticed this like based on the things that I've done in my life, like hey, like this
mode is in the
right
here on the wall.
or
I can
even
definitely say
even down to like the more
you can see it
right, and even down to like the more structural things. Since you said, you were the builder on your own home. You probably have more keen eye to some structural issues than your typical agent who doesn't have that experience. That it could potentially come and help you and help your clients save tens of thousands of dollars from having to deal with massive issues.
Or just $250 on an inspection. If you know it's going to be bad, hey,
yeah.
you save
Well, that's true.
Hey,
and
are we going to keep paying for inspections here?
right. Well, and it could save the buyer from the heartache because if they absolutely love the house and you just have a conversation with them, like, look, this has a lot.
May not be our house, but
it's such a good characteristic for an agent because I know I've even just gone on some showings with you just to check out some houses. And, right off the bat, you're like, roof's bad. And I'm like, I would have never have known that. And now I understand, like, the agents, your job isn't to be a home inspector. That's not what you do. But having, like, a little bit of experience is definitely such a big value proposition. So, because, I'm the least handy guy ever. So if you tried to show me a house and told me to point out what's wrong, I'd tell you the worst. The house that's getting ready to get kicked over, I'd be like, it's in perfect.
Yeah, I know. I offered you like 2 DeWalt drills this past week. And
I didn't
like
have
in great
a
shape,
purpose
like,
for them.
I just bought one, and I'm like, dude, you use them. They last. They don't have an expiration date. Okay, the battery recharges.
I gladly claimed them.
I know you did.
Told you. I said
By the way,
I
speaking
said
of that,
call
I have
Evan.
them
I
for
said
you, by the
call
way. I
Evan.
gotta
He'll
give 'em to
take them. I can guarantee it. Evan will take it on here.
Well, that's not his niche.
So I mean, well, let me ask
Oh,
you.
but can I say one other thing
yeah,
too?
go ahead.
I have also walked in a house and was like, oh, 2 times actually. And I was like, oh, this inspection is going to be great. Like I don't see anything. And the inspection came and it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it depends on the contractor too. How great can they put a Band-Aid over this,
That's a
or
really
you
good
can't see
thing,
behind
yeah.
the walls. And also with inspections, they can't open up the ceiling tiles or they can't go behind the walls and everything like that. But one new feature that I've been seeing a lot are the infrared.
Like the cameras.
So they can
Nice.
tell if it's water, because that is one thing I do not play with is water. Once I see water in the basement, I'm like, we're out of here.
I'm the same way.
I'm like, I'm not even wasting our
It's a
time.
really dangerous game.
It
Oh, yeah.
is.
Yeah, I mean, because as soon as you have water, waterproofing a basement, if you do it the correct way, which I believe is from the exterior, because that's the only one that actually stops it from coming in. I mean, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars because they got to dig it all the way up. They got to
20
read
or more. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't
only
seen it
trust
less.
Ohio State waterproofing. I only trust Ohio State waterproofing. I'm a little biased.
All right, shout out
Shout out
Ohio
to Ohio State waterproofing.
There
Send
we
you
go.
We'll send you the invoice for
Yes,
the advertisement.
hashtag discount code Dysha podcast.
Nailed that one.
Yeah.
Damn near killed it.
Yeah. So and also that's why my investors, like, if I tell them that, like, hey, I don't like this house or something like that, and they can't go, they're gonna roll with it. Like, they know. I even know the numbers. Like, I know where we're gonna be number wise. So that's why I have a lot of investors, and they're not going anywhere.
So do you think, like, being the fact that you are the eyes for these investors and they have thoroughly trusted you over time naturally tells me that you obviously are a master in your craft, right? But how important do you think that that's an important key asset that every agent should have, or do you think that that's something that just grows with time, or do you think that we should just be relying on the professional inspectors that are coming in there and doing what they're supposed to do? I mean, what are your thoughts behind that?
Okay, so we definitely have to rely on the inspectors because they're the licensed professionals. And if they're not licensed, we can't even ask for any repairs. And, we have to be very careful with what we say, in any house, even if we have a great relationship with our client, because I could say something and say, oh gosh, this wall is, bowing. And they're like, they get an inspection and it's not, so it's, of course it's a matter of opinion, but wait a minute. I told you I was jet lag, right? Because I forgot what the other question was.
I wanted to say, how is it, how important do you think that an agent that works strictly with a ton of investors and has that experience, do you think that they're more valuable of an agent than somebody that hasn't worked? Because obviously we're relying on the inspectors, but naturally we're all human. Like, we make mistakes, right? We don't catch everything, right? And I know contractors, they miss things too, so do you think it's important? Because I do, knowing that you know more than the average person, right? You have to be a master of your craft.
Yeah.
You're dealing with real estate. Come on.
And you're dealing with people money too. So when you're working with especially investors and friends and family, they don't want any mistakes. So you have to be like spot on with like their ARV, like what their return is going to be, after the repairs
What's an
are
ARV,
done.
by the way, for everybody?
After repair value.
Nice, thank you. After
So-
repair value. I just learned something today.
So, and that's the most important thing when it comes to an investment property, because everyone wants to know after they put, XYZ amount of money into the property, how much it's going to be worth. And it gets very tricky because you don't know what type of quality work they're going to put into the property, because I can tell them like, hey, you're going to be able to sell this for $200,000 and you're purchasing this property for $50,000. But if they go in and do crappy work, and that's the hard part, and that's something that I struggle with also, is telling them like, hey, this is crap. You're not going to get the number.
Yeah.
Like, this is not it's just not going to work. So that's a very hard conversation, especially with some of your seasoned investors. It's very difficult because, like, say for instance, if I do 10 to 15 deals with this one investor and this house is just like not going to work, which I haven't lost anyone yet, but you definitely can fast, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line, it's just, give as much advice as you can without stabbing yourself in the back, because if something goes wrong or you say, okay, this is your ARV or your after repair value, and it's not, they're going to blame you. So you have to be careful. I mean, we even run into this. I actually forgot to tell you this. I had a client the other day ask me if they should take an itemized or a standard deduction on their taxes. Like a client I closed like in September. And I'm like, I appreciate that you trust my advice, but I'm not going to give you any advice on that. Like, it's crazy.
But
so
that's a standout, though. That means that you're doing your job really well.
It is. But like, my point is like, you have to be careful with what you say. You want to give it the best advice that you can, but you want to be careful because you don't want to stab yourself in the back. I think that's kind of what I just took away from what you said.
And use a licensed professional that has a reputation.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also, I always tell them this too, like there's 3 types of renovations you can do, A, B, or C. A rental renovation, which is just
builder grade.
Yeah, it's just builder like stuff. the bottom of the barrel. I mean, like just carpet and paint, They may even paint the cabinets in the kitchen, So, and then it can be like a mid-grade renovation, which is nice, but it's not the highest quality, and then a high-end renovation, which is where you're going to put some money into the property. And I also show photos of the interior of the properties that at that time are their comps. And I also have to tell them that you only have XYZ amount of days because these comps are going to expire.
Yep.
So time is of the essence. So if you get them done within, the next 90 days. So you do work. There's a lot of work with investors, but I feel like every agent should have at least one.
Definitely.
That's cash.
Yeah, awesome. See, so like
to offset when you don't close something.
Yeah, like it sounds like you do a lot of like fix and flip investors, whereas
I do not buy and hold. Okay, none of them are really like they don't really want to hold. But
I have one and all he does is buy and hold. But
no, that's great. That was really good advice.
Yeah, thanks, Dysha.
Cool.
Thanks. You're welcome.
We're gonna take a quick break. And then we'll probably come back and talk about some things specific to what you're doing in the industry, some safety tips, things like that. So excited for that.
All right, everybody, welcome back. All right. So, Dysha, we touched base on, naturally your niche, right? As investors, you deal with a ton that gives you awesome negotiating experience, gives you eyes on the inside. You have that experience that a majority of agents don't because you just had so much more exposure, but is that all that you want though? Or tell me a little bit about kind of like where you want to go. You had mentioned that you wanted to break in like the high-end residential market. You love those personal relationships and growth, but tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So this year my focus is listings. Last year, I believe I listed like 26 properties. So this year, I want to at least list 36. So my main focus is this year and moving forward are listings and higher end clients, just because you do so much work on those lower end properties, like the $20,000 properties. And, you do so much work and it's a lot less work. And I'm just trying to maximize my time, which I'm still going to do all, but I would like for that to be my
and area. Just to make sure everybody's clear, I think you told us before it's 30. You said 30, 30, 30, right?
Yeah.
Of investors.
So 30. Yes, 30% investors.
So right now your business is spread pretty evenly across.
Pretty evenly. Yep.
Yeah.
So you work with a lot of. I feel like most agents don't have 30% investor clients. Like some maybe have like 1 or 2. So it's definitely a lot more, but it's not all of your business. You still do regular. Residential buyers and sellers. Okay, cool.
And I just want to clarify, like the lower end properties that you were talking about, that's like strictly investors where it's just kind of a transaction and there's just no like really relationship or bonding there, right? It's just okay. I just
I'm sure there's a relationship there, but like those people when they buy those lower properties, I mean, after they rehab them, I mean, I assume they're probably listing with you as well, right?
Right.
It's more so passive income than.
Or it's more of like a business transaction,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
as opposed to like somebody
Like a
buying their
personal
first
relationship,
house.
right, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So there's still a relationship there always.
Yes, yeah. I was
Yes,
just,
there's definitely relationships there, but yeah, so that's my focus this year is listing more and higher end clients. And my year has started off really great because one thing with real estate, whenever I speak something into existence, it's like it happens.
Manifestation.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to this year, and I have a lot of things going on right now, and a lot of great things coming.
You know what? Let's talk a little bit about that. You know, let's talk a little bit about, because I was just talking to Sam today. Evan, I know that you're aware of this. Like I just had a contract come in from another state this morning, and there's no inventory out there. So like if you're a mortgage planner and you're consistently helping families right now and things, like you're blessed. Like I was really blessed. I was like, wow. And it just makes it like so much more emotional, and it's just the satisfaction is there, and you're really busy, and not a lot of people are. A lot of agents are like, crap, like I'm not busy. Like you're going full force, so you have to be doing something right. I just wanted to touch
Well,
base
the
on
other
that.
thing is too, you guys are definitely gonna know the answer to this because I was talking to Dustin. There was a stat out that there's more agents right now than houses on the market, right?
by far.
Oh, yeah.
Way,
Oh yeah,
way
okay.
more.
Well, I know that at some point that stat was crazy. Like that was like, oh my god, there's
Right.
more agents than houses on the market. There's definitely more mortgage lenders than there is houses on the market,
Yeah.
which is also crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I think
that's why we were talking about like we got a contract in. Like this is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I think I looked at it the other day, and I think in the state of Ohio there was like 30,000 some licensed agents.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
There, search it
I
up.
didn't know that.
You have your computer up in front of you, so search how it is. But I mean, that's a lot of agents.
How
I
many
mean,
agents in Ohio?
Yeah, just search how many real estate agents in Ohio and see.
And you know
I
what?
could be way off.
I
though.
saw something the other day that said last year, almost 60% of investors purchased property. Half of our market was like 60% investor transaction.
makes
I believe
sense.
it. I
Yeah,
believe it because a
I
lot of
believe
these people
it
that
too.
want to invest, like if you look at buyers from California, if you look at them
Yeah.
from high markets like
Different countries.
California, if you're in
I feel like that's so much more common now than it is ever.
Yeah,
Like, I feel
I
like
mean,
we're
it
getting these
definitely is.
out-of-state investors now, and like nobody wants to invest like in Arizona or Nevada or California right now because it's
well,
like
the property
crazy.
values are so high. Like
crazy.
if you come to Cleveland, the one thing that attracts out of state buyers in Cleveland, especially like I was at a meeting this morning in Tremont. Tremont, for example, you can buy a $300,000 triplex multi-unit, and each unit could be bringing you $2,000 a month. Where else? I'm sure there are other places in the country that can do that, but where else are you getting those kind of rents for that purchase price?
Yeah.
So it attracts so many people. And then I've talked to you about this before, but with all these people being able to kind of work remotely because of COVID, I noticed that people were moving out of larger cities like Chicago, LA, Seattle, New York, and they're coming back here because they can say, I can spend half the money, get twice the house, and I'm still making the same money, but I'm able to work from home now.
Yeah.
So I think that had
a lot.
I think it had
driving
a
up values too. It's a
yeah.
good thing.
yeah, but it's also at some point pricing certain buyers out of the market because we talked about this on the one episode. I mean, property values increased by 18% last year. So on a $200,000 house, that's $36,000 increased in value.
I was just talking about that with a client yesterday. He was like, I wanted to get pre-approved for $100,000 because I want my payment to be X, and I'm like, $100,000 house was like a $30,000 house like a year ago. Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but
It's about 50.
No,
for-
I mean,
yeah.
like even for an example, like the houses that used to be $125,000, roughly right now they're like almost 200
Yeah.
to 215.
Well, that's like, yeah.
And a lot of people are still, a lot of buyers I've been noticing are still like in the old area where they think that they can submit an offer that's a little less than asking. And
yeah.
I'm like, asking isn't going to even get you the
No.
property right now.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
you have to offer-
especially if
Right.
you need closing costs. But you know, the craziest thing I've noticed over the last 2 weeks is that I've been in a lot of homes that were higher end, like over $800,000.
Wow.
And they are all outdated.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe that it's our market is so sensitive because I can go into a house that's $600,000 and it can be updated.
Right.
But when you get into those 800 and up properties, like every last one were outdated. And that's on the east side. So that's like the Pepper Pike, the Chagrin Falls, the Solon. And I was just floored. I was like, I can't believe it's for me. I wouldn't dare purchase that property at $800,000 and have to put $200,000 into it. But of course, you know, people want Solon schools, and that's another topic I'm not going to talk on today.
Right.
So because you know, I feel like it's a matter of opinion.
Yeah,
so,
well, exactly, and that's all it
and
is.
My son, he's graduating from Solon this year, but I do feel like they're professional test takers. And they need a little bit more programs. So that's one thing that really surprised me about the school district is I think they need more programs, you know, to prepare kids after. But I can't tell my clients that, you know.
Right. Well, because if they make a decision based on your opinion, I mean,
a matter of opinion.
Yeah, and that's all it is. Because if I say, hey, this is a great school system, like I grew up in this school system, they send their kids there and their kid has an awful experience, they're going to be like, that guy Evan told me, like, and then at that point you lose the credibility with them because they're like, well, we bought it based on that. They're not going to. That's a possibility. You're definitely not going to get any referrals or any repeat business out of them. So I mean, yeah, that's
everybody's getting sued nowadays. That's
Yeah.
why Seth was like, disclose.
Yeah.
Because nobody's disclosing anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Speaking of, by the way, guys, I just want to let you know there is about 50,000 agents as of May of 2021.
Okay.
And we approximately right now, I'm pulling this from Zillow, is 19,498 homes for sale in Ohio. So
19,000?
Yeah, 19,000. So yeah, almost triple the amount of agents than there are to house
That's
ratio.
crazy.
Just throwing that out there. Okay.
Don't throw anything else out from Zillow.
Okay. Oh, I was just going to that's the first thing that I could find.
Zillow is our worst nightmare.
Wait a minute.
But
Okay, wait a minute. I got Realtor.com as of they said that there's details of 35,181 homes sold in Ohio. So what about Realtor.com? Are we going to trust them?
We're going to go with
All right. So still okay. So
well, it's still more. It's still more.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the actual numbers are, it's still more.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
all right. Anyway, sorry about that.
yeah, but kind of
and you know what? Dustin and we did this deal in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember.
I remember.
Okay, so you know what I'm about to talk about? Mm-hmm. So they purchased the home for like $240,000, and we actually just sold the home for $300,000, and it was like not even about a year and a half later.
Yeah.
And that's with, no updates really. So
I mean, it was a nice house.
It's a nice house.
It was well kept.
It's a nice property too.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show, like, a lot of people are like, hey, I just want to buy a house. But I always say it has to make sense also.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy right now, just make sure that you're checking off as many
Where are you going to go?
boxes.
yeah. Well,
Right, where are you going to go?
And that's another
I know.
conversation. Like you were saying, like my parents actually, like they've tossed around the idea of potentially selling their house because when are you going to be able to get this kind of money for your house? They bought it for $160,000 in 2004. Now they could probably sell it for $260,000.
Yeah.
And my dad's always asking me, well, should I replace the roof? Should I do that? And I'm like, dude, I don't think you need to. Like, people, regardless, it's gonna sell. There's 3 homes for sale in the city right now. I'm like, and we live in one of the larger neighborhoods in the city. It's like it's an actual development, and those houses sell quickly there. And I'm like, dude, I don't know that you're. I think if you pay whatever it is, the $10,000 to replace a roof, I don't think it's going to reflect $10,000 in value when you sell the home. I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the carpet. People are going to come in. They're going to want to change it to whatever carpet they want. Don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Make it clean. Maybe paint it. But
I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to sell my house. I've been trying to sell my house for like the last year or two, but I just can't find a house in the neighborhood where I want to move. So I want to move to Pepper Pike, but I can't find anything that works for me.
that's
because it's so centrally for me and my business is so centrally located. Because I cry about getting to the highway, so I'm like, it took me 10 minutes to get here. I want to be here in 1 minute. So I'm spoiled.
Gold-plated problems, guys.
Gold-plated problems.
I mean, I don't want to. I want to get back on topic. This is awesome, but what I want to talk about, and this is going to kind of piggyback of you being a really busy agent. You wanted to be. And dealing with the investors, right? Just being alone, being a woman in the industry. There's been some incidents in the past couple of years, they've been pretty scary, right? And it's shocked the real estate community, right? I can't imagine it's made you feel any more comfortable. I can't imagine it's made you feel any safer, you know. So being a successful woman in this industry, you're constantly working, right? You're constantly helping families, investors. What are some, you know, could you shed some light on like how you stay safe, you know, and then just tell everybody what your fears are, so you know they can understand it's okay to be scared, but here's what you do to make sure that you're getting to the other side safe. Would you mind shedding some light on that?
So I'm a little spoiled because I only work with friends, family, and people that have been referred to me that someone else can vouch for. Because my goal is to make it home at the end of the day. So I can't get every dollar that's out here, you know, but I do use my intuition. Like I have taken my CCW class and everything like that. I have a lot of different tools, but we'll talk about the gun thing later.
For sure.
But so I used to go in properties before my clients would arrive just to like get an idea for it. Some properties I will now, but some I won't. You know, one time I was in a property and we were upstairs on the bedroom level, and then when we came down to the kitchen, like I heard someone in the basement, and it wasn't like another agent or anyone else there. So I think it was like a squatter, because we do have issues with squatters too once it gets cold and the property is vacant in certain areas. But yeah, I'm very picky on like who I choose to work with. If I don't get a good vibe from it, like I ask a lot of questions. I want to see a pre-approval first, which that's a whole nother thing. Like I'm not even going to entertain showing anything without a pre-approval first. And so yeah, that's what I do. Oh, and this is another thing too. So I get a lot of calls from out of state and out of country investors, and they want us to go into the property, look at the property, and tell them if it's a good buy or video or Zoom. I mean, not video or Zoom, but video or FaceTime.
Right.
That's where I'm probably not the best agent for you, because when it comes to like lower end properties and not so great areas, I usually go in with local investors. So when it comes to an out-of-state or out-of-country investor, if they want me to go into the property and I'm alone, I will respectfully decline, because that's not how I run my business. So when I'm in like a not-so-great area, I'm already with someone that I know. So
yeah, I'm sure like as soon as you go into a showing, even if you go in by yourself before your clients get there, which you said you pretty much don't do, but you probably immediately lock the door. And like I feel like that sounds so simple, but like a lot of people just walk in, they're so excited to see the house, and they just forget.
Most agents leave the key in the door.
Yeah.
And I think it's like ridiculous. Like they leave the key in the door on the outside.
Yeah.
You know, so I just keep it in my hand. But I always lock the door behind me.
Yeah, especially when it's like, I mean, because during the winter time, sometimes it'll get dark at like 5:30. So like even if you have a showing, because like I know you can't show past like what, 8 or 9 o'clock.
I don't show in the dark either.
Yeah. So like if it's
I don't show in the dark either.
Yeah. See, I will, just like one of my clients. He sent me a property, and based on his work schedule, he goes, well, I can either go before 8 a.m. or I can go after 8 a.m. or I'm free all day Sunday. And like with that, like it's either
now or never.
Right. Yeah. So some certain situations, like they're based on work schedules and stuff like that. Like obviously I want to get them in as soon as possible.
So. And that's true too. But the only thing, not even just safety, why I don't show in the dark, is that I feel like too much is missed in the dark.
Right. Well, you
so
can't
like
see
you
a
can't
lot of
see
stuff.
the exterior. So what I'll do is, like, if they are at work, if my client's at work, I'll tell them try to swing by on their way to work, like while it's still light outside, if possible. So at least you can see the exterior. Because if not, every time I've done that, I've had to go back and show it anyways.
Right.
So they're like, well, I'm not comfortable with, not seeing this or not seeing that. But I feel like you miss way too many details showing in the dark.
There's a whole lot that you miss. All the siding, you can miss roof, if there's any brickwork or foundation on the exterior. I mean, there's all that stuff. If there's some odd geographical feature with the yard, whether it be some type of something that just like could tarnish the property. Yeah, I mean, you definitely won't be able to see that stuff at night.
Yeah,
so.
and a lot of neighbors don't like people at the house when it's dark either. Like
Fair.
I've had the police called, we had flashlights outside, but it's like, flashlights, what are you doing? You know?
Right.
And there's a sign outside, but I get it. Like I wouldn't want anyone in the property that late either.
So what happens if you were ever subjected? So if you were subjected and you had to show up late, what do you recommend that somebody does? Do you think that maybe they have a buddy system? Maybe they bring somebody with them?
I always drop a pin, let people know where I'm at.
Right.
So, and my son checks like constantly.
Yeah. What about too? You mentioned something in the past about like either going in the door first or letting them go, regardless if they're a client or not. What is your kind of your principle right there?
Okay, so for new agents, like especially if you're going in the basement, I always let the client go first because like they can push you down or anything. So I always let the client go first in the basement.
What about going in the front door? What do you think?
In the front door, so it gets a little tricky just because you have to open the door, but I can open the door and just turn right around,
Be vigilant then. Okay.
Yeah.
And another thing I've heard people say is like when you go into rooms, like don't get too close to corners, don't get close to closets, because if somebody was intending on hurting you or attacking you, if you walk into a closet, they push you in a closet or they push you, trap you in a corner. Like so I heard somebody talking, they're like I do my best to stay in the middle of the room. Yeah. And if it's somebody they're comfortable with, like family, friends, obviously, hopefully you're not going to have to worry about that. But if it's somebody,
I hope you don't.
yeah, because then you got to find new friends.
Right.
But no, it's like people that they hadn't worked with before, they're like, I try to keep 2, 3, 4 feet of distance. I don't go anywhere where I can potentially be trapped.
Right. Or you can tell them to take a walk around, like, hey, take a look around, and I'll wait right here. Just let me know what you think. If you would like for me to walk with you,
So that is
or
a
not
thing.
walk
There's a
with
purpose. I always wondered why, like when we were looking, even with us, you were like, hey, go check it around, go look around, and that's probably something that's just built in.
Habit.
Habit. That's.
But some people, I think that sometimes I think it's a little rude to actually walk with the client because especially if it's husband and wife, a lot of the times I'm noticing that they like to talk about it together. And although they trust you, but this is a decision that they're making, and then I always tell people I can either walk with you or you can walk around and just tell me like what you think. But I still walk around just because if this is a property that we may consider, I want to know like
what's
everything in the house too. So I don't there's agents that won't go in the basement also, which I don't agree with that because how do you know what the furnace look like? How do you know what the hot water tank look like? There could be water,
cracks,
anything, but there's agents that will not go in the basement. And I'm just like, what? Like me personally, and this is like no shade to any other agent, but if my agent didn't go in the basement, I probably wouldn't be working with them.
I mean, that's the basement usually is
It's
where
the
most. Well, that's where the most can go wrong.
And it's the most expensive room in the house.
Yes.
If something is wrong, I just.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I know from being around inspections and being around, like I've also licensed in 2018. So, I mean, I've been doing this for, like you said, almost four full years now. Like, you kind of have an idea of what to look for. If the general consumer's going into a basement, they're not going to understand, there's staining on the wall. It's just staining. Like, no,
they
like,
shouldn't. It's not their job.
well, exactly. But I'm
hiring you for
exactly.
Right?
Well, yes and no. They're not hiring us to point out the flaws, but it should be in our kind of thing to point them in the right direction. Like, hey, there might be something going on
in moderation.
Yeah.
In moderation, yeah, because we're not licensed basement technicians. We're not electricians.
Yep.
We don't know for sure what's going on, but we can say, hey, there might be something going on here, or if there's staining on the walls, like I would want somebody to go in the basement. Like hell, the one client that we have under contract right now, he climbed up into the attic, and I was like, I guess I'll follow. So we're both in the attic looking around, looking for any leaks in the roof. His fiance's down in the. She's like, "Can you two get out of the attic?" Like screaming at us, and we're like,
"We're playing a video game right now. Relax."
And we're yelling down. We're like, "There's so much room up here."
It's so many important details. The most important details of a deal, I feel like, is they're in the basement. What if it has a Federal Pacific box and the house is being sold as is?
a lot of
They're
people.
not going to change out that box, you know, and you can't even you have to change out that box in order to make sure that the deal can go through.
What is that box?
So Federal Pacific is it's a brand of box, and in the I believe 70s and 80s they were having a lot of problems where the boxes were it was house
Fire
fires. It was
hazard.
house fires, and I believe it was West Coast like California, Washington, and now a majority of insurance companies won't cover any home that has Federal Pacific boxes. So those physically have to, in a lot of situations, be removed and replaced prior to closing of transaction. That's always
So if you don't go in the basement, they could have had one of those boxes that you can't even get insured on. Now you're under contract on a house that
And
can't
you're
even get
still-
And an
insurance on.
appraiser won't
Well, an
approve.
appraiser. Well, if you can't get
Federal
insurance, you
Pacific
can't
box
close a
either.
loan.
Yeah, appraiser won't approve it, and you know. But you know what's really weird? I had a property just recently that I was a listing agent on, and we did have a Federal Pacific box, and we had to have it certified from a licensed electrician that it was not a fire hazard, and somehow our deal closed.
I've heard of situations like that, but whenever I see them, the first thing I do is like
Ugh.
I don't even wait for the inspection. I just write it right into the contract. Seller to replace electric panel and update it to non.
Yeah.
Is that something an inspector would flag?
100%.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they're like banned almost. Like they're not, but
Yeah.
they're
Wait a minute,
like
so you're telling me right now that if you don't go into the basement and you don't check that out, now you're going to risk the client spending $200 or $300 on an inspection too, that they don't get back.
yeah.
Okay, I just want to throw that.
And
one
you
out
know what
there.
else? Like $200 or $300 for an inspection right now is really cheap, because a lot of inspectors I've noticed are charging $400 and $500 for just a general home inspection, and
Just like appraisers.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of $300-$400
Just as
inspections.
important. I mean, honestly, why wouldn't they be? I mean, they're valuable. They're more valuable than the appraiser is.
yeah. I mean, in another thing is like one house that I was in. If I didn't go in the basement, there were underground storage tanks. Like the storage tanks were in the actual basement at this property, and it was in Warrensville Heights. So it wasn't like it was like really yeah.
So odd. So wait a minute. Okay,
Two
so
huge tanks in the basement.
So I don't want to get pulled off your safety, okay? So basically what you're saying is be vigilant when you're walking through the front door, right? Be vigilant behind you. Allow them to walk in front of you when you get in the house. Ask them if they want you to accompany them, and if they don't, then still look for things that they might not see, so 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. Don't ever walk into the basement first. Keep about 4 feet distance in rooms. Stay away from closets. And all around, just have your spidey senses ready at all times.
Right.
All right. And then I know that we kind of got some really good information, like on the Pacific box going into the basement. So that was really, really good.
I
to
didn't
get
even
out
know. I would have never known that.
I would have literally never know. So make sure, like, your agent, like, and if your agent doesn't know, maybe they don't, because we're human, right? And we're all learning. Like, I never knew that. So if you're walking in there, just keep a lookout. Look at that electrical box. That should be one of the main things. Okay, last before we kick off here, being a top producer, okay, or well-established top producer. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
You know, what advice? And you've given so much valuable information. You know, but if there's one thing that anybody can take out to make the agent stand out, what do you think it is?
Yeah. This is gonna sound really crazy, but don't do it for the commission.
Bingo. We talked about this.
Because when you care, like everyone's like, oh, well, what is the commission? I'm like, I don't even know what the commission is, because the goal is to help them find the home that they want. You know, I want my clients to be happy. So I don't care. And a lot of people are like, oh, Dysha, you better not cut your commission. But I'm like, guess what? If it's down to like $1,000, like I don't care. Like for me, I don't care. I'm like, hey, move on to the next, you know? And because our commissions are different on every property, how can you miss something that you don't have? And it's like, I just feel like when you start doing it for the commission, everything else will change.
Well, at that point, it's not about the client.
Yeah,
It's
not
about the money.
the client at all at that point.
And
yeah.
I think our job is to make the process as easy and as seamless.
Experience.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
you're
gonna burn out really quick too if you do just do it for the money.
Yeah.
You're gonna be done in a year.
Like, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, do you not want to have a relationship with your clients? Like, where do you think you're gonna? You want to call people and just randomly be rude and be like, can I have your bit? No, you like this is relationships, and it's about good people deserve good advice, and it's about putting that service out there.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
No. So, this is a really good episode.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this is
Dysha.
honestly by far is probably
Lots
my
of knowledge.
Yeah, that's my favorite, for sure.
All right, we got a lot of good stuff in here about investing, safety. We covered pretty much all of it, which was actually unplanned. So I'm super proud of all of us. Killed it.
Yeah.
So
Great
thank you
episode.
so
Thanks for
much.
having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm always with guys. Did you know that like 90% of my clients are males?
'Cause you're a bro.
Because I'm a bro.
Bro. You come with the tenacity and the perseverance.
Oh.
That bro.
And one other thing about the whole safety issue. So a lot of people like underestimate me because I'm like short, you know, and they think that they're just gonna like push me over and stuff. But I'm actually very tough.
I believe it.
I'm actually very
And-
tough, and I CrossFit for 3.5 years. I boxed for 2.5
And
years.
you pack.
And
Awesome.
Yeah. Have fun trying to get one over on her, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Dysha.
thanks,
Dysha.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.